You can't fix the Colts till you answer one very important question. Is the quarterback the future or the problem? Welcome back to With the First Pick. On this edition of The Perfect Fix, we're fixing the Indianapolis Colts. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's former Titans GM Rand Carthon. Before we get going, Colts fans, let's start with the elephant in the room here. Let us know in the comments where you stand on Daniel Jones towards Achilles a few weeks ago. We're recording this heading into Week 18. The Colts have officially been eliminated from the playoffs. Should Daniel Jones come back and be re-signed? Is he the quarterback of the future? Do we have to look at another plan B beyond Daniel Jones? Because that's going to be the biggest overarching issue facing this team. Philip Rivers, fantastic story, fun story. I've loved watching him play. He didn't help the team win football games, and this certainly wasn't a long-term solution anyway. It's going to be Daniel Jones and what he can do here. So, Rand, let's start there. What are you doing with Daniel Jones, who played arguably his best football? Maybe the previous best football he played was Brian Daboll's first year in New York when that team surprisingly went to the playoffs, but he was as efficient as he's ever been. And then, of course, he got injured. Now he has an ACL that he suffered and previously in his career. Now he has the Achilles he's coming off of. And we've seen guys like Aaron Rodgers who are older and Kirk Cousins who are older not quite be 100% until 12 months or so after their first year back from that Achilles injury. What are we doing with Daniel Jones?
No, you definitely try to re-sign him. Now, the trick is, what is that number going to be, particularly off of this Achilles injury? I think it should be in that Sam Darnold-ish range, if you're asking me. I know the franchise tag is going to be around $46 million if they were to franchise him. I think he should come in the range between 35 and 42. I know that's kind of a big range, but again, I wonder how much protection are they going to build in with him returning off of the Achilles injury? Are you going to put in some per game roster bonuses, that will allow him to make up for it if he's healthy and if he's on the game day roster versus if he's not healthy, and that's more so protection from the team. But I definitely think you need to re-sign Daniel Jones.
And it felt like the Daniel Jones, and we talk about this all the time, sometimes you can sign with a team that you don't believe in, but they're paying you what you don't want to get paid, so you go there and it doesn't work out. It feels like Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones were on the same page throughout. I mean, that team started 7-1, and then the wheels fell off for various reasons having to do mostly with injuries. They traded for Sauce Gardner, gave a first-round pick. No one was complaining about that at the time because they were in the thick of it. And, of course, Sauce has been banged up as well. As we sit here headed into Week 18, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Colts have around $54-ish million available in salary cap space. Did I get that right, Striker?
Million.
There we go. I got that right. All right. So we talked about Daniel Jones, but I'm going to give you some other names of guys that are going to be whose contracts are up currently with the Patriots after this. The Colts after the season ends. And you tell me thumbs up or thumbs down. Offensive lineman Braden Smith, former first-round pick Kwity Paye, the edge rusher, tight end Mo Alley Cox, linebacker Jermaine Pratt. A big one in Alec Pierce, the wide receiver out of Cincinnati, and then Nick Cross, the safety out of Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alex Price is going to outprice himself to be an Indianapolis Colt next year.
Ooh.
I think that number is going to come between 18 to 22 million a year. The franchise tag number is going to be around 28 million, which I don't think they'll franchise him because you already have Michael Pittman, who has a cap number of 29. I think, it's right at 29 million a year. So I don't think that they'll franchise him. I just think his market is going to be bigger than what the Indianapolis Colts are going to be able to afford. Braden Smith, you talked about. Kwity Paye, I think you kind of see where that market is going to be before you address it. Because again, and I'm jumping ahead of here a little bit because now, as it currently stands, they only have 7 draft picks. Which they don't have their first-round draft pick, which they gave up in the Sauce Gardner trade. Their second-round pick will probably be somewhere in the middle, so you don't know that you're going to get your pass rusher there. And they've spent resources on that defensive line, that defensive front. So I think you see where his market is. Another free agent guy, Samson Ebukam. There was a guy that they signed a couple years ago. He dealt with an Achilles injury. I think it's time to move on there. Jermaine Pratt has played some solid ball for him, has made some plays. Obviously, he's a Lou Anarumo guy, having played for him in Cincinnati. But I think even there, I think you move on from Jermaine Pratt. I think you need to get a more athletic coverage type linebacker to put next to Zaire Franklin. I think the last 2 weeks, if you watch their defense, they've been exposed by the tight end position, and those tight ends have been able to win in coverage because the linebackers' MO hadn't necessarily been coverage. I love everything about Zaire Franklin. I just think you need to get him a running mate next to him that is of the athletic variety that can play a lot in coverage and allow Zaire to do what Zaire does, which is crush running backs and make plays.
Well, the good news isn't that you're picking 49 because you give the first round pick for Sauce. So you're getting Sauce back. The good news is this class and draft class is pretty deep at off-ball linebacker, and you can probably find someone at 49 who can come in. I mean, remember Edge Cooper for the Packers was a second-round pick, and he's one of the best athletes on planet Earth. So that's an easy fix. You mentioned they have just 7 picks. They're going to have needs at wide receiver potentially if Alec Pearson come back. In the secondary, I'll also mention their draft class last year was pretty good. Justin Wiley, the 3rd-round pick out of Minnesota, tore his ACL, so he'll be back. But, of course, they got Tyler Warren. They got JTT. Jalen Travis has played a ton, the 4th-round pick out of Iowa State. He's been forced into duty along the offensive line. So they've done pretty well there. The previous draft class, Latu Latu's a good player. A.D. Mitchell, they've already traded. Matt Gonsalves has had to play. Tanner Bertolini starts at center. So they hit on some guys there as well. But I think you still got to keep hitting. Here's the other thing. I'm calling you Mr. Chris Ballard, and I would like to trade for Anthony Richardson. Is there any reason that you wouldn't trade Anthony Richardson?
I think if you're them, especially if you re-sign Daniel Jones, I think it is what it is. I think you look to move on from Anthony Richardson. And again, that's whether you're cutting him or you're trading him, because at this point you only have, let's just call it, $2.1 million in dead money. And I think Anthony Richardson's dead money next year, his dead cap number is not a little, but it's 10.8 million. So you can practically take that on because you're well positioned, because you only have 2 million going into the season. You only have 2 million in dead cap. But I think the writing on the wall, it is what it is. I think if you re-sign Daniel Jones, and you're all but sure to move on from Anthony Richardson.
And they drafted Riley Leonard, in this last draft on day 3 out of Notre Dame. He had a chance to play, got hurt before they brought in Phillip Rivers. So that could also be an option there. It is just goes to show you how quickly things can change fortune-wise in the NFL. Top 5 pick who struggled with injuries.
And here's something I want to bring up too, and just 2 names in particular for me, because we'll see where Daniel Jones's Achilles injury is and how soon he's returned off of that. Look, I get it, because you mentioned Riley Leonard, and it just made me think about it. I don't know if you're the Indianapolis Colts, the way your team is currently constructed, I don't know that if Daniel Jones is healthy, you go into it. If he's not healthy, you go into it with the Riley Leonard as your starting quarterback. So to me, 2 names that came up in my research is what I'm calling bridge quarterback options is Russell Wilson and Jimmy Garoppolo. 2 guys that have played a ton of ball.
I'm laughing because I want
to say I love Jimmy Garoppolo.
You love you some Jimmy G.
But if you think about it, he's a guy that has played a ton of ball, has won football games. Both of these guys have taken their teams to the Super Bowl or been part of taking their team to the Super Bowl. I think they are good bridge quarterback options. And one thing that I learned the most from this particular season, the 2025 football season, is the importance of having a really good backup quarterback. You look at what these backup quarterbacks have kept teams afloat. I said it last night on Game Day Recap. The San Francisco 49ers aren't in the position they're in right now to potentially be the number 1 seed in the NFC if they don't have Mac Jones and he performs the way he performs. You can say whatever you want to say about Jacoby Brissett. I know he's been a journeyman, but that Arizona Cardinals offense really didn't hit his stride until he stepped in as the backup quarterback and was able to put the team in a position where they could play on time, and to the point now where it has people questioning, is Kyler Murray really hurt? And are they just choosing to go with Jacoby Brissett? So we've seen solid backup quarterback play, and I think for a team like this that's built to win the division and challenge for the division, because if Daniel Jones doesn't get hurt, I think they're winning. They're still winning this division. And so the importance of having a backup quarterback is key. And I think a guy like Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo could give you a 1 to 4 gap bridge in the event that Daniel Jones isn't quite ready.
No, that's a good point. And I would imagine both those guys, if they're free agents this summer, the teams may not be in a hurry to sign them because it's a specialized need when you're talking about Russ or Jimmy G coming in, to your point, to bridge 3 or 4 or 5 games until you get your starter back out there. It is crazy. You talk about the Colts winning this division. They were 7-1, and everyone was all over the Daniel Jones bandwagon, myself included. But it's going to get interesting. Stryker, let's get Jim Moore in on this.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Jim Moore was coaching the Colts when he was asked that question back in the day. I think it was. Maybe it wasn't the Saints, was it? It was the Colts, wasn't it?
No, it was the Colts.
Yeah. But here's the thing, man. We talked about the Jets in the AFC East earlier. The AFC South is suddenly for real. They were the laughingstock for the longest time, AFC and NFC South. And suddenly the AFC South has the Houston Texans, the best defense on planet Earth, and CJ's coming around. They have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that team has gotten their act together with James Gladstone and Liam Cohen, and, of course, Trevor Lawrence is playing better down the stretch. Are the playoffs realistic for this Colts team, given that Daniel Jones maybe won't be 100% until Halloween in 2026?
No, I think so. Because, again, and that's why I say you go and you get a bridge quarterback to allow you to still be in contention. Now, you may not win the division. We'll see what ultimately ends up happening. You may not win the division. But there was a point for me in particular where I felt 3 teams out of the AFC South were going to make the playoffs this year. And this was the time where I thought the Texans were going to be the team to sneak in at that 6 or 7 spot. So I do see a world where 3 teams out of the AFC South can make the playoffs, with the Colts being one of them.
That's disrespectful, Stryker. He has a graphic up if you're listening. Colts are the first team to miss the postseason after an 8-2 start since the 1995 Raiders. I'm trying to think who was the quarterback on that Raiders team. That was a minute ago. I will tell you
what
this.
What year was it?
1995? Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. The last time the Colts made the playoffs was 2020. They went 11-5 that year. Phillip Rivers, some guy named Phillip Rivers was the quarterback then. Last time they won a playoff game was 2 years before that. Andrew Luck's last year, 2018. And I'll say this, Andrew Luck retiring sort of out of the blue, I'm sure caught Chris Ballard and that organization off guard, but they've done a decent, better than decent job even of keeping things together. Shane Steichens won about half of his games, 9-8 this first year, 8-9 last year, 8-8 as we head into week 18. And he's done it with a mix of quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew, AR5 for much of the 2024 season, of course, Daniel Jones in 2025. So it does feel like there's very real possibility that the playoffs are in their future. I just am concerned now with the arrow pointing up on the Texans and the arrow pointing up on the Jaguars, what that's going to look like. And we'll see where the Titans are. Cam Ward's playing better, but I think it's a lot more difficult going forward than it would have been this year, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this would have been optimum time to make it, right? Because there's no Mahomes in the playoffs, there's no Joe Burrow in the playoffs, and potentially we'll see where it is for the Baltimore Ravens this upcoming weekend. So this would have been an optimal time, but I think that the Colts have done the right thing and built this entire team, and now you just have to – and I think they got the trigger man right. I think they chose right in taking Daniel Jones, and up until the point he got hurt, he was playing really well and had them in contention. It's just getting back there, and the part of getting back there is getting him back on the team.
Yep. No, that's right. All right. Colts fans, let us know in the comments. What is the biggest need for this team, whether it's in free agency with the $50 million-ish you have available in salary cap space, what you want to do with the 49th pick, that's your first pick in the draft, which direction you want to go there, wide receiver, off-ball linebacker, some other position, because I'm curious about what you think about that. And what do you think about Daniel Jones' chances of recapturing the form that made him so good we're having MVP conversations about Daniel Jones the first 2 months of the season. So let us know that in the comments. In the meantime, that's it. Thank you guys for joining us here on the Perfect Fix for Indianapolis Colts. Hit the old subscribe button while you're there and thumbs up. It always helps us out. And check back often because we'll be fixing every single team that misses the playoffs.